Hey, thank you very much for joining me today. Exciting news. Awesome news. For next fall, I'm working on doing that farm tour here at Maple Groves, our first annual farm tour next fall for Soil Health Day, kind of livestock day sort of deal. And it's going to be great. Got an email, and the big speaker, Jay Fuhrer, has agreed to come on over and be a presenter. So the first week of October, we just have to nail down the day, but we've got time. But he agreed that he will come over and participate in it. So that is awesome. That is awesome. Peterson Hybrid said they've got a hybrid that they would be willing to send my way. I probably have to pay for the bag, but I'm just kidding. They didn't say they're donating or I have to pay, but they're going to pick out a good hybrid to help me with the 400 bushel strip and have some fun there. And I still got to talk to, I have to let my Pioneer lady know that she'll probably do a test plot day, but maybe we'll do that a different day. I don't know. That's up to her and up to how the schedule goes. But yeah, so I'm going to have local people. There's a couple great beef guys that I might have them do the presentation for the pastures. And with Jay Fuhrer along, he can kind of have some fun with it throughout the day, bringing some other soil people and just have fun with it. But anyhow, so yeah, it's happening. I'm already working hard. I'm on the phone. I'm trying to get things organized. But we're going to go to the fields, and I'm just going to tell you what I plan on doing. You guys let me know if that sounds like a fun event or stupid. And then if you let me know it's stupid, then I just block you from all my social media stuff and find where you live. And I'll just Clinton you. But anyhow, yeah, so let's do the tour, and you guys let me know. I hope you can hear me all right with the wind. But rye, so this field behind the barn, the cow pasture, the steers are right on the other side of them yellow tanks, you know. So the rye is already started out here, and the field's starting to green up some. So this will be strip-tilled corn into winter rye, with the winter rye left growing as long as possible next spring. We'll probably leave the headland. I might just leave the headland to the winter rye itself, so then you can see up the corn rows kind of deal. Because this headland had a lot of water hemp along this headland, and I left that big patch over there. I figured I'd save these spots for the end of the soybean year, so you know, I just cut them off and then they're done. I'm not dragging that water hemp around the field. So the headland I'll probably just do to pure winter rye, and then maybe have to go turn right back into rye to control the water hemp, whatever. But it's going to be corn strip tilled into rye left go as long as possible, and the headlands, we'll figure out how to keep the headlands managed so I don't have a weed issue during the growing season. That way, come fall time, we can see down the rows to see how good of a weed control we got with our normal corn, with a normal corn herbicide program, with the addition of rye in a field that has some of the noxious weeds. So that's what's going on back here, to see. So there'll be several things. Obviously, the cover crop will be the soil health thing. We might interseed in a lot of corn acres. I want to get more into interseeding, so there might be other stuff interseeded with it. Obviously, how can we deal with water hemp and stuff? And so there'll be a lot here to look at. And then the corn itself. How does the corn itself work in a companion crop system? And so that's this stop number one, will be corn into rye in a water hemp field. And so that's stop number one. He gets more excited than I do about this stuff. Look at him. You can't slow him down for nothing. Come on. See if I don't walk fast enough. then he gets all like, come on, hurry up. See? That's because I'm not moving fast enough. Weirdo. All right, stop number 2. So right here, we're going to have our high yield test spot. So it'll be 12 rows. It won't be a true 15-inch corn, but it will be a twin row corn set at the 43,000 population, maybe a little bit higher. So it'll be 12 row or 30 feet twin row corn at a higher population for pure production. And starting from that fence will be 36 rows of what? 36 rows of 25 and then a lane, 50% a lane, 75% a lane, and 100% of applied nitrogen for our historical, what you think you should use or what we normally use for a nitrogen program. And the first 36 rows will be sprayed. So it'll be normal corn herbicide program. So just imagine that this happens to be a strip, so we'll have a walkway this wide so you can look down all the different rows. The next 36 rows will be the same thing, 25, 50, 75, 100%. The cover crop lives. No herbicide whatsoever. It'll be strip-tilled corn, and the cover crop is left to live. And then there might, if there's room after that, we might come up with another experiment. But what we're going to do with that then is also take into account the steers. The steers have to pay rent on this acres this year for 2018. They needed to pay rent on this since row crop didn't. So somebody's paying for this field this year, and it's going to be the steers because they're the ones that used it for the year. So for 2018, we need to put the money from the steers selling to go against land rent, taxes, and all them other stuff, and the cost of the pasture mix and any feed inputs that we did put into them. So then we will bring in cost analysis. We won't have them final numbers in September, but we will have very good numbers from the steers as to what this field profited. And then next fall, then we can come up with some type of email list, or I'll make a video of the results. So anybody that showed up to the event, we will somehow figure out how to get them that data to people to show, the cash flow of how each nitrogen application worked and cash flowed. That's the whole thing here is how is it cash flow. And so I think that'll be kind of fun is just to have a lane, like you can see the wheel tracks here. So to have a lane, we'd be able to see there's your 50%, here's your 25%. You can look down the rows, you can compare it. I'll probably have a couple aisles going with the corn. And so you can walk down to the next group and compare. And then we'll go. It's like red light, green light with them. I think they've seen too much Monty Python, where when I stop and look at them, they stop and pretend that they're standing still. See? They think they're a Monty Python skit. This field across the road. Now, what do they do here? I don't know what the heck is so special about this spot, but they just beat this spot into oblivion. And it makes no sense to me. But this field across the road will be 12 rows corn, bean with a soybean headland. So 12 rows corn, 12 rows soybeans into a spring seeded rye, grain rye. Just to see several things. How did the rye work on the soybeans? Because then the soybeans will still, at some point, have some type of herbicide program. How did that work? And how does the corn-soybean rotation work for yield of corn and soybeans to see if it Did it show a positive, negative? Was it worth the effort kind of deal? And so that not a whole lot going on there, but that's what that field would be about. This field. So on the other side of the house will be the first cow pasture. So that will be a moving fence line, cow pasture with a spring seeded pasture mix like I did with the steers. So then we'll be able to show just kind of how, you know, fence line grazing works and blah, 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 and look at the soil. We've got some baseline tests from last year out there so we can see in one season, did we notice any improvements or not, so we can start tracking the improvement of soil health. And then this piece here will be corn on corn, strip tilled with a spring seeded grazing mix, companion cropped with the corn. And we might try a couple strips of 60-inch corn out here, a couple rounds of 60-inch corn to see how it yields and how the grazing part of it grew. So you got some feed value there. So if it doesn't yield as good as the conventional 30, where can we make up some of that money? And then that will also then be followed by, in them strips the following year will be 60-inch corn again, but obviously moved on to them green strips. So did them green strips make nutrients for the following year corn to start that whole process? So a lot of this testing, you know, it's going to take a couple of years to get some answers, but that's a huge part of it is, you know, at the end of the day, are we moving forward to pay our bills better? Am I making more money on a per acre basis? Or am I just going to do conventional corn and beans and go back to the cities? And that's the big deal here. And so we got cattle, corn that will have pasture in it. So behind the combine, the cattle can move on to that and just march that program across the farm. So there'll be, this 60 acres will just be some stuff to look at. So I think that will be really fun there. So here's the corner of the pasture. I think what we'll do over here then is have the sweep tub and a corral set up. Whether we run animals through it or not, I don't know. I don't want to irritate the animals too much, but at least have the sweep tub out here with some corral put up to it so beef people can see and walk through the squeeze chute, you know, put hands on stuff and just see how a sweep tub and a bud box, maybe have a separate corral with a bud box set up so you can see your two different ways to handle cattle kind of deal. And so, yeah, because a big part of this is the cattle management on the grounds. And so my herd's going to be a mobile herd, so I need to be able to manage them on the go. And so that will also be in the pasture there. So here's my soybean and oats experiment. I did not show the video, but the oats went down. The beans and oats were laid flat. We had a storm come through and it was laid flat. This little strip of ragweed was the only thing left standing. There was big ragweed blocked by them trees. It was a wind out of the west and it still laid that stuff down. I couldn't believe it. But anyhow, we'll do a spring burn down here. I will talk to the Johns at the University of Minnesota about that Kura clover. I would like to get this seeded down to Kura clover, so I'll talk to them, figure out what's the absolute best way to do that. If you know, so you got the volunteer oats out here now. But yeah, in the springtime, just do a heavy Roundup burn down and direct seed that Kura clover, so by next fall maybe there's something growing here, and then show and kind of explain how we're going to use the Kura clover. So for me, I'm going to do an every other year rotation. So the first year it gets seeded. The second year I might use it for leave it keep seeded and growing and establishing, so we'll use it for a hay crop the second year. Maybe baleage or something, you know, clover can be kind of a bugger to dry, kind of nasty, but whatever, we'll use it for a hay crop the second year. The third year, we will strip till corn into it, take advantage of our free nitrogen credits, and then the fourth year back to hay, to alternate. Behind the corn, we'll probably bale up the clover and the corn stover together and make feed out of that as well. But yeah, just alternate corn hay, corn hay, corn hay, and take advantage of what the clover's given us. And so, like always, like every other experiment, it'll be several years before we can get some cash analysis going, but there will always be cash analysis going because I got to pay my bills. So that's the whole thing. The whole thing is what other things can we do to best utilize my land. And even on a conventional hayfield, I got my conventional hayfield there. So I'd like to have the farm business manager come up with his own spiel, so he can give some speak during the day about cash flow and revenue and stuff. And so we might even take something as simple as the alfalfa field and compare them numbers to the conventional corn and soybean numbers that he has, and how is that working kind of deal. And same with the beef. He's got some good numbers for beef, and see how beef in our area compares to conventional corn and beans. And because right now, $7 beans, granted the beans are coming up, next summer they might be back to $10. We don't know, but it's only getting more and more expensive to grow corn and beans. And so guys got to start doing something. But hey, that's it, guys. Them are the fields, them are the experiments. That's what you're going to see. And if it's a rainy day, we'll get some tents at each field so people are somewhat comfortable and go from there. But we'll do the best. I'm thinking a beer and brat lunch and have some fun with it. It's going to be a long day, but will be good entertainment. And so, all right, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. It's starting to thunder, so I'm going to get in the truck. This little 2-acre will do a high-yield soybean test plot. So I don't know how on earth to do a high-yield soybean test plot because they don't respond to nothing. But we might try side dressing soybeans to see, do they respond, and did the response pay for the fertility application? And so maybe I'll be the first guy in East Central Minnesota to have 100 bushels, to set a goal of 100 bushel in a field and hit the goal. Ha! I guess at this point I'd be happy to hit 60, but whatever. It's fun to dream. So yeah, that's that 2 little acre field.